We're doing some work on our 29-footer that we built here in our family's boat shop, and we are actually installing a little overhead storage cubby. Some people call it like an electronics box, just something that can go underneath the hardtop that we built for the boat. And we can put some knickknacks in there, as every boat needs storage, just like your house needing some closet space. But we needed to space this down from the hardtop just a little bit to get it more accessible for us. And we're using some Coosa board. Now, if you've been following the channel, you know who I am, but if you're new to the channel, I want to welcome everybody. My name is Joe Buskins. This is our family's boat shop. I'm a second-generation professional boat builder and a 100-ton captain, and we use a lot of Coosa board in the shop. Everything from building our 29-footer, all the stringers, to our project boat that we've already put a new transom in, and yes, you can see we've got some stringers cut out over there. Now, if you're new to Coosa or kind of tempted to work with it, I got a little sample piece here, and what we're going to be doing is showing you folks how I would join some pieces together to build like a little spacer block, or even if you're going to do a transom. Now, one thing about Coosa, it is very, very light in weight, but quite strong. So I weigh about 190 pounds, and you can see right now I'm balancing myself, but I'm putting my full weight on that little 1.5 inch wide strip of Coosa. You can see the fiberglass reinforced inside the polyurethane panel. Super lightweight, super strong, it'll never rot. So that's why I like to use it. A lot of people are also, sometimes the spelling on it, it's C-O-O-S-A, Coosa Composites. And you can check those folks out online. So what I did when we were making our little spacer blocks, I used something called a countersink bit or a chamfering bit. This is just from Lowe's or Home Depot. That came from Lowe's. You guys know I shop there a lot. I'm not sponsored by them, but I do buy a lot of stuff. And I usually like to countersink for my screw heads to go down nice and flush. Now you see I've already done a couple others. You don't need a real large bit. I find that Coosa works really, really good when we use a stainless steel screw, and you don't have to use anything super exotic. These are grip right. These again are kind of your basic off-the-shelf from your big box store type stuff. But we're using a combination of mechanical fasteners and fiberglass to hold everything together. I'm going to line these up nice and easy, and I'm going to do a little pilot hole through there just so everything lines up nicely. I like to do a little bit of what I call a dry fit so that you know all your pieces are going to line up. One thing you don't want to try to do is glue two pieces of Coosa together with resin or glass between them. A lot of times it'll slip and slide all over the place, and the screws will help keep it. And you'll notice here we're just inside the diameter of the shaft of the screw, so you got a good bite on the fasteners themselves. Now, one thing about dealing with Coosa, it can be a little bit itchy, so I like to wear gloves. You don't really want that dust all over you or your project. So your handy dandy shop vac is going to be the way to go. And you can see now we've got screws lined up. Now, one thing I did do, and I like to do always when we're working with something like this, is I will take a little magic marker and just run a couple lines, so that way I always know the orientation. I can say, okay, well that's not right. That is going to be the right orientation for these pieces. And again, if you're following the channel, you folks know that we really like the vinyl ester resin from Fiberglass Warehouse. Vinyl ester is a real happy medium between polyester and epoxies. What I like about it is it has the workability of polyester resins, but nearly the same strength as epoxy, and it's completely compatible with Gelcoat, so you don't have to worry about any kind of amine blush or problems with Gelcoat bonding to it. Now, when I built those little spacer blocks for my overhead box, we just used some resin with a little bit of MEKP, methyl ethyl ketone peroxide. Highly corrosive stuff. Always need some eye protection. Always wearing some gloves. You want to be sure not to splash it back up in your face. That is probably going to be plenty for what we're doing. Now again, if you want to reference back in the channel, we're always using our little cheat sheet there. If you got like 1 ounce, for example, that'd be like 10 to 20 drops. Larger amounts, 30 ounces, for example, would be 10 to 20 cc's, and that's about 1 to 2% typically. And this will actually change colors a bit. I hope the camera can maybe pick this up. But you notice it's got kind of a purple tone, and did y'all see how quickly it changed colors when you added the catalyst, the hardener, the MEKP, whatever you prefer to call it. Now sometimes the vinyl ester will kind of foam up a little bit when you first add the catalyst. You can see it's a little foamy. Don't let that scare you. That's totally normal. That's just part of what you can expect. Using a little inexpensive chip brush or bristle brush there. Now typically when we are working with Coosa or any other composite and or plywood, I don't want people to think I'm just an absolute fanboy of one or the other. I do really like the Coosa and been using it for years. But plywood, it would kind of be the similar method as far as you want to be sure to prime the surfaces thoroughly, like so. Now a lot of times I will even prime the surface and let it tack off, which means basically it won't come off on your fingers. It may still have some tackiness to it, but no resin or material will come off on your fingers. Then add another coat of resin and glue it together, or add your fiberglass. But today, for the sake of time, I'm going to jump straight to just priming it. Now of course you can brush it as well. I feel like sometimes that little motion, we call that dabbing. My father called that dabbing when I was growing up here in the boat shop. Some people call it stippling or stipling, but basically you just want to be sure you've worked that resin in. Already pre-cut a little piece of 1 ounce, that's CSM or chop strand mat. That's another reason I like working with the vinyl ester, especially the vinyl ester from Fiberglass Warehouse, folks. And if you want to use some of this, there is a Fish Bump TV discount code that will save you some money. And if you want to order any of the Coosa composites, Boat Outfitters, which are also the same people that made our real nice little glove box up there, storage box a couple episodes back. Boat Outfitters carries Coosa, and they can cut it to all different dimensions, and they got different densities and whatnot, which is kind of an interesting point. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but Coosa's got different kind of panels. They got their nautical series and their blue water series. I tend to always use the blue water. It's going to be a higher strength panel. The nautical is kind of more of lighter weight or not as highly stressed structural components. Gives you some options there, but Boat Outfitters, Fiberglass Warehouse, gonna help you out with the materials we're using today. Gonna go ahead and dab in. Now it can be tricky to brush like long ways the CSM, and it'll kind of smear it and drag it around. So I typically will dab it into the resin, into the glass itself. That's another reason I like the vinyl ester, is because it works well with CSM. CSM has little binders in it that hold it together, and the solvents that are in polyesters and vinyl esters will melt those solvents and allow it to kind of conform to different shapes. Epoxy resin does not have the same solvents, and it does not work the same, so keep that in mind. Again, nothing wrong with epoxy, and we use it on some occasion in the right application. It's kind of like if you were going with lumber or with metals. There's an application for aluminum, there's an application for stainless steel, there's an application for mild steel or even copper. So you want to use the right resin for the right application. But I find that the vinyl ester is applicable in a lot. Now again, you can see we're going to line up our marks there. The little orientation may seem like a simple thing, but sometimes it's easy to lose track of where you are. Now I do like the CSM for gluing things together because they're fairly short strands of fiberglass. If you were to use something like 1708, sometimes your screw, as you're running it in, can wind up some of the fibers and be kind of just kind of difficult to deal with. Now we're not going to be using a lot of pressure here, folks. You want to be sure this thing finds, there you go. See, it found its mark. Sometimes you can tell right away if it doesn't want to go in the pilot hole. A lot of times the best thing to do is just back it out and start again. And you folks will notice that I am getting all 3 fasteners in before we cinch them down a little bit. And I'm not going crazy with this, folks. You can see we already got a little bit of squeeze out. We're just gonna, that's about all it needs. Just snug it. There you go. You've got a little bit of squeeze out going on there on the joint. That's what you want. A lot of people think you got to go crazy with your fasteners. I call that glued and screwed. You got your mechanical, you got your chemical. We would let that cure and set, and you would sand that edge. You can also just take a glove finger and wipe some of that excess off, and that'll kind of fill in some of the fibers. You're still going to get a little bit of material that's going to have to be sanded, and be mindful of that. Once it has cured, you would not want to run your finger over that because it's going to result in a splinter. And if you ever had a fiberglass splinter, it is no bueno. It is not fun. And we use this same method. Like you could build a stringer, for example. If you want to laminate 2 layers, this is the Blue Water 26. Excellent stringer and transom material. So you could laminate a stringer together. You can make little cross pieces and beams out of this stuff if you need to laminate layers. I've got several of our Patreons, which a shout out to all of our Patreons and supporters of the channel. But we got some folks that are building some motor mounts for inboard engines, and they're stacking a whole series of the 3/4 inch. You could use different thicknesses. I mean, it comes in 1 and 1.5 even if you want to get thicker, but I like the 3/4 just for all around versatility. And you can build all kinds of stuff. Now, basically what I did is I made some strips like that, and then I took our big high-speed sander that's out there on the sawhorse, and then just put a nice radius and kind of softened and contoured, and I did cut an angle or a bevel that matches the front face of our box and the back face of our box, so that aesthetically it looks a little bit nicer. But just remember, you're going to want a fan blowing or a vacuum to catch some of that dust. Now, we are installing this on the boat. Ultimately, I plan on painting this gray to match the rest of the boat. But for right now, we're just going to install it, and we're going to get up there in a minute and we'll video some of that. And we're leaving it white and we're leaving these unpainted because I just want to be absolutely sure that I like the placement of this, and it'll be quite easy to take it down if we need to. Okay, so we got our storage cubby up here on the underneath the hardtop, and we did a little backwoods engineering there, man. Everybody needs a few of the milk crates and some little bottle jacks just to kind of add a little tension. And you can see our spacers in play. And what I was trying to do is get this thing at the right height where I could comfortably see underneath it, but I actually wanted it as low as possible because these things, not only are they great for stowing gear, but they help block the sun when you're running into it. And when we're out on the charters, eye fatigue is like a big thing. So I'm actually really, really excited to not only this year have our hardtop that we built here in the shop, but get this installed. So we're using some really long stainless steel fasteners. Those are some 1/4 inch by 3.5. And I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of residue there on the end. Found a material called TEF 45. It's a gel. Works really, really good with stainless steel fasteners. Now, if you haven't worked with stainless steel fasteners, or you're new to working on boats, stainless steel fasteners are going to be part of what you do. They got this a little brush, and basically you can get a little dab of that TEF 45, and just a little tiny bit on the threads is all you need to keep it from what I grew up, we call it galling up. Stainless steel is real bad. Sometimes you run a stainless steel fastener on, or you run it tight, and then you try to go take it back off at another time, and it is seized on there. So that is not a good thing. So I went ahead and ran a couple in. Now y'all will notice earlier we did a little bit of dry fitting, which I'm a big fan of, and I ran some tape around so I know exactly where this thing was going to go right back. And we're going to jump up on top here and run all of our fasteners down. That is another thing that I have found is kind of over drilling the fasteners a little bit, the screw holes a little bit on the large side, and then getting all your fasteners in play. Now another thing you folks will also notice I'm doing is we're using a really big washer. We call that a fender washer. That kind of spreads the load out. Sometimes on these cord hardtops like this, you don't have a ton of glass on the top and bottom, and you don't want to dimple the surface of the glass. So that's another little thing you may want to do. Be sure that you spread that load out a little bit. This is the kind of stuff that personalizing your boat. I know we got a lot of DIYers out there, and I mentioned our Patreons earlier, folks that are consulting with us on some of their bigger projects, because sometimes you're like, man, I want to do this and I have some questions, but it's kind of maybe beyond the scope of some of the videos that we have. Now we're going just a little bit smaller washer on the inside, because this little box in here is going through solid fiberglass. So I'm not really worried about compressing or needing a fender washer. Now, sometimes it's really nice to have a second person helping you with things, and if you're installing stainless steel fasteners, if it doesn't go in there easily, pretty readily the first try, you don't want to cross thread it. That is one of the things about dealing with stainless steel, which on a boat, that is pretty standard stuff. Now, if any of you folks out there are interested in consulting with me directly, Patreon is the best way to do it, as I mentioned earlier. And that way you can set up a 30-minute consult or a 15-minute consult or an hour consult. And, oh man, there you go. I may need some help on the last one. It's always good to have a helper there. But you folks that have been following the channel may also know that our video numbers, we haven't been producing a lot of videos lately. It's because we've been busy with our spring break charter season. And anybody that's out there that may want to visit a warmer area and come down here and fish with us, leave a comment or reach out to me. You can find me online. It's Island Marine Charters. You can actually come out here on the 29 and maybe go catch some red snapper or king mackerel or cobia, or we even catch tarpon in the summertime, and speckled trout, redfish, flounder, all that good stuff. So be sure to reach out if you folks are interested in doing some of that. So I think y'all get the basic idea here. We're going to put the camera down for a second because I need some help. We're going to snug these fasteners up. I'm going to pull all this stuff away. And I'm also going to show you folks how strong the little laminated piece of Coosa is after it's had a little bit of time to cure. We've got it all installed and snugged up. Nice little overhead storage cubby. That, along with the little glove box we put in here from Boat Outfitters a couple weeks ago in a previous episode. The boat is really coming together at this point. I'm very excited to have some shade. We've got some nice grab rails, like if you come out here and go fishing with us, if the boat's moving around, or as you're kind of getting your sea legs, you can kind of grab onto something. We got a place to put all of our gear. But I wanted to circle out of the boat and show you folks, I wanted to show y'all the piece of Coosa that has had a little bit of time to cure, and show you kind of an idea of how strong it really is. Now, I was also thinking that little box that's up there that's made, you could, in theory, build something just like that. Just like we showed you folks how to build that hardtop. You could use Coosa, cut it, saw it, shape it, and actually build an integrated box. As a matter of fact, if I ever build another one, we might just do that, where the box is integrated into the hardtop itself. Now, there's one singular piece. I wanted to show y'all one more thing to kind of show you the strength of this material. Now, again, I weigh about 190 pounds. There's a little bit of deflection there, but surprisingly strong for only 1.5 inches. And I'm bouncing on that a bit. I hope y'all can see. So you can only imagine when you build something like this, where you've got some screws, you've doubled the thickness, the deflection on that is like near zero, and it would get stronger as you let the the vinyl ester cure a bit. So hopefully that inspires some of you DIYers at home. The combination of Coosa, the vinyl ester especially, is going to be stronger than your polyesters. Remember, Fiberglass Warehouse, not all vinyl esters are the same. I've tried a number of them. This one is by far the best. Fish Bump TV is going to give you, there's a discount code, Fish Bump TV, save you some money. If you reach out to Boat Outfitters, again, they can help you with the Coosa. Any of the products we use on the channel, if you guys want to help support the channel and save yourself some headache looking all over the internet, if you drop down below the video's description, you will find a really nice Amazon store now with pictures and descriptions and all that. So if you folks need to purchase any of the materials we're using, Patreon, if you want to give me a call, feel free to reach out to me through Patreon. I can help you consult and work through your project at home. And if you want to go fishing with me, look us up on the internet. We'd be happy to take you out in the Gulf and catch some big, cool saltwater fish. So it's Captain Joe here with Fish Bump TV. My son Logan working super hard behind the scenes as my amazing cameraman. And we will catch you folks in the next episode.